Put a smile on your face when you're moving from place to place.
Welcome back, viewers, and we're now joined with Darren Henry, the Assistant Conservatory of Forests, and we're here going to be talking about World Wildlife Day 2023. Good morning, Darren. How are you feeling
today?
Good
morning. I'm quite good. What about you?
I'm good, thank you. Thank you for asking. So tell us, World Wildlife Day, when is that?
So World Wildlife Day is celebrated on the 3rd of March every year.
Okay.
Actually, in 2013, the United Nations General Assembly would have declared, at their 68th meeting, they would have declared World Wildlife Day on the 3rd of March. Actually, it correlates with the signing of the CITES 50 years ago. So the CITES, the Convention on International Trade on Endangered Species, was signed on that same day in 1973, 50 years ago, basically 50 years ago.
Right.
And in 2013, they would have decided to dedicate that particular day also as World Wildlife Day. So it's basically 10 years in running. This is our first attempt to really celebrate that international day. So this is our first attempt, and we are hoping that people will come out and support us for it to be a success.
So this is actually happening tomorrow. So what are some of the plans that we're having for World Wildlife Day?
The theme is partnership for conservation. And actually we are partner with the Department of Natural Resources and Forestry. We are partnering with the Wildlife Association to have a fair or exhibit of our local flora and fauna within the botanical garden. And it's a means of bringing awareness of the important role that our wildlife do play in terms of their ecological role and in terms of the health of the planet, balancing the health of the planet, because wildlife do have to play a role in terms of balancing the whole ecology of this island.
Of course, and you are right, because given the fact that we do have the Sustainable Development Goals, and Tobago specifically is focused on sustainable development, it does tie in hand to see how we can protect our wildlife and protect our environment and our natural resources. So tell us, on the day, what can persons expect?
So basically what we're having is an exhibition. The wildlife farmers will be exhibiting the animals, basically local animals that they have in captivity, because the farmers they are nature lovers. They are the ones, we work with them and they work with us in a sense. Basically we work together to promote and even enhance the wildlife population that we have here. Some of the farmers even breed animals and release them back into the public. So from 10 a.m. at the Scarborough Botanical Gardens, so 6 p.m. we have the wildlife displays. We have schools, members of the public could come in and view the wildlife displays of local animals. We kind of separating them because some people, since from biblical days, have a phobia for snakes, so we probably putting the snakes away from others so that you don't have to go into one main tent and you see snakes. But some people have a phobia for snakes.
I do have a partial phobia for snakes.
Snakes have been feared since biblical days.
I wonder why.
Well, they have its, even though that is true, they have its ecological role to play. For example, presently, we go out in the forest, spend 6-7 hours, and we hardly see snakes. So we are concerned. And then people kill them, hunters, farmers,
regular
and
persons.
roadkill. They are being killed along the road. And then we have an explosion in agouti population and in some cases rats. So snakes feed on rats. So if you create an off balance in the ecology, it affects the ecosystem. And I am personally concerned about the amount of snakes that are being destroyed. We hardly seen snakes, and I learned recently that there are challenges in some schools in Tobago with rat infestation. I mean, problems with food, etc., and garbage disposal. But snakes are the main predator for rats.
So are there any attempts or efforts to make sure that we can rehabilitate the snake population in Tobago?
Not at this present time, but we are looking at it. Our staff, we are so small. Presently, we are focusing on a few other research, but we had to get professionals from the University of West Indies to come in, which we are partnering with also to kind of assist us in terms of solving some of our environmental challenges that we have on the island.
So tell us, apart from World Wildlife Day 2023, what other initiatives or efforts are there from the conservatory, I believe you say?
So basically, wildlife is basically animals that are not domesticated, and it includes plants also. So presently, we have a small project where we're looking at a special species. It's a conifer species Yes, we are in the tropics. People may not think that we have conifers here, but we have a local conifer, Podocarpus coriaceus, that is endemic to Trinidad and Tobago.
Okay.
A few. We are presently GPSing them, going out, finding them, with the hope of developing a management plan to sustain that particular plant species, because it's located in a unique type of habitat and they are not in any great quantity. So we are presently mapping them. We haven't finished yet. We have done about 3 sites. We know where one more site exists, and we are hoping to find others so we can develop a management plan to protect that particular type of species. We also would have had recently a survey being done by an agriculture officer where we use camera traps to look at the opossum, that is the manico.
Right.
We also did the Caribbean martin surveys. We have been monitoring them for the past 7 years. Those birds that would have roosted on the wires in Scarborough, hundreds of them.
Right.
So we're actually monitoring them. That is a Caribbean species, basically. So that's why it's named Caribbean martin, from Jamaica, I think, down to Tobago. It's not found in Trinidad, so it's a locally endemic species. So we short-staffed, but we're trying to see how best we can monitor the resources as best as possible in collaboration with the wildlife farmers, the Hunters Association, the TTPS, TIMA, etc.
So speaking of the Hunters Association, I think by now the hunting season is closed.
Yeah, hunting season closed actually yesterday.
Oh, really?
But yeah, yesterday.
And how long is it normally closed for?
Well, basically until reopens on the 1st of October.
And persons are aware of that and sensitized.
Yes, well, we do. Yesterday we had staff on other media informing the populace about the closing of the season, etc. So again, with our limited staff, we try our best to keep our heads above the water, trying to educate people as much as possible and trying to enforce the regulations. So we just want people to really come out, even you, take time out from your busy schedule and come visit us at the Scarborough Botanical Garden from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. We have a wildlife display. People come and learn about our local wildlife.
So we're seeing the flyer right here, and of course this is the World Wildlife Day Fair 2023, and it's going to be at the Botanic Gardens. So the theme, which is interesting, is Partnership for Wildlife Conservation, and of course conservation is very important for us as an island that has so much biodiversity, and given that we have the Biosphere Award in the East. So is there anything else that we might be mindful of, knowing that we have to be focused on conservation? How do we prepare our students to be mindful as to how to protect, and not necessarily, in the case of the snakes, to just kill them out?
So I think we are on an education drive, education, research, and public awareness. I think we just have to drive it home. If it would be good if we could we try to get into schools and educate schools, youth groups, because we would have invited several schools to the function tomorrow, to the fair tomorrow. Last week we'd have carried, I think it was Pentecostal Light and Light, to the rainforest on a school.
Also, the actual tours to the rainforest.
So what normally happens is that we have a policy whereby we only take youth groups and school children to the forest. Adults will probably take a private person. Basically, we go to adult groups that they pay for that, and the school groups will write us indicating that they want to go to the rainforest, place, time, and the amount of students, and we'll facilitate that. The game wardens, the forest officers will facilitate.
Now, granted, a couple days ago, I think one of the divisions would have found a group of people in the rainforest. Can you comment on that? Because I never heard that happens like that before.
I think basically, I think a team from Works would have probably went on a recon mission, a reconnaissance mission, and I think a guy got injured earlier. Maybe he was diabetic, and they continued along, and they probably night met them in the forest. But maybe in going forward, when people get injured on trails early o'clock, they need, based on what you have to do or where you have to go, that person should have gone back with a couple healthy persons, and then they would not have met them in the forest. Basically.
And not only that, maybe if they had a trained professional who understood the forest.
Well, not necessarily. I think they had hunters with them. So hunters are very good out in the bush. Basically, hunters really know the forest. You know, depending on where the hunter is from. You know, so it's a learning process. You know, that once you get injured, you go back in spite of what role you have to play. Maybe go back because safety out there, and the terrain out there in that area is not user friendly. I like to use the word user friendly. I like that word, user-friendly. It's not user-friendly at all in terms of steepness. It's one of the attributes that protecting the main ridge because of the steepness of the terrain. People really can't go and build, and I mean, it's state property. Yes. So the terrain out there is really challenging.
Okay. So just a quick question as well. Is it that the weather, knowing that we're in the dry season now, has that affected the wildlife, and how have you seen and noticed any trends of how the environment has been reacting to the heat that we have been experiencing?
Well, to a point, in terms of, well, what will basically happen in terms of the heat, well, obviously animals will tend to look for water.
Yeah.
And that could be a spot where poachers could go and look to try to catch animals also. But this time is a time where plants flower, and a lot of like, for example, the iguanas will be taking nests in the sand, etc. So people, and then we had to think about fires, the bushfires, bushfires or grass fires that will destroy the eggs of birds, insects, and the food for birds, because a lot of the cage birds tend to feed on the grasses, the guinea grass seeds and the razor grass seeds, and if they're destroyed, you have challenges basically. And you also have migration of, for example, the caiman will migrate to water sources in the drier period.
All right, so let's recap for the World Wildlife Day. Yeah. So just to share with our viewers what exactly to expect, knowing that they are coming out tomorrow at the Botanical Gardens, and anything else you would like persons to know about the event.
Right, so basically, again, we just want to encourage the whole of Tobago, along with the schools, when people finish after work, come out to the Scarborough Botanical Gardens. We'll be having a wildlife fair exhibition, displaying some of our local animals within the garden. Come out, you will learn, you could interact with some of the game ones and the wildlife farmers, and there are lots of things to know about animals on a whole and the role that they play in keeping your environment healthy, because if we don't take care of our environment will take care of us. And we might not like it.
That is true. And I also see that it's going to be free entry, and donations are greatly welcome.
Right, so free, as this is the first year, we decided to have it free. Okay. And obviously we would like people to contribute in the donation box, which will go towards the Wildlife Association, because these farmers have to maintain their animals. Animal feed is expensive. Maybe from our level, maybe I could probably maybe do a paper or something to the policymakers to have wildlife farmers get an incentive, because most of the incentive are more or less on the agriculture side of things, but in forestry, there are some in Trinidad, but we're not getting any access to that incentive in Tobago. Maybe the present policymakers or exec council could look into that and see how best we could support the wildlife farmers, because they do help us. We do partner with them. They do release animals back into the environment to make sure that the population of animals remain stable. But the animals are under pressure because people in Tobago think that the wildlife are inexhaustible, so they want to hunt all the time. They don't care. We try our best with our limited resources. We depend on the TTPS to support us, but we try our best to do what
I guess there is a room for improvement. But Darren, let me just say thank you for joining us here this morning to share and even inform us as to what has been happening with the conservatory, and also what's going to be taking place, knowing that we will be celebrating World Wildlife Day tomorrow at the Botanical Gardens in Tobago. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much for having me.
All right, so up next, we actually have Tobago Notes. This is going to be Information Division, and you are here live watching Tobago Updates. Thank you.